Welcome to the Reality Revolution. I am so excited. We have the one and only Daniel Scranton, the amazing channeler of the Arcturian Council, of the Pleiadians, of the creators. If you followed my channel, you've gotten a wonderful chance to meet Daniel, to see his incredible channeling process. And I have actually had the wonderful opportunity to meet Daniel. He's just incredible in person. He's one of the nicest people. And I have been honored to read these channelings on a weekly basis for a while now. So many people come to me, their hearts opened and so excited about the message of the Arcturians and the creators. And we have a new book that Daniel has written, this one focused on the creators, called Create the Reality of Your Dreams in Seven Simple Steps. This is an amazing book. It's focusing on the channelings of the creators, something that I have also got a chance to read on the channel. And so when I got a chance to bring Daniel on, I couldn't wait. So welcome to the Reality Revolution, Daniel.
Thanks for having me back yet again. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, how's life in Australia?
Great, great. We're coming up on summer here. We have a saltwater pool in the back with magnesium, and I go swimming with my daughter all the time back there. She's starting to learn how to swim without her floaties, so it's a great time to be.
Nice, nice. Uh, I know you got some big plans coming up. You're going to be coming to the United States to a conference, I believe. It's another channeling conference. Where is that going to be?
Yeah, that's going to be in LA with a venue yet to be determined, but it will be in May, the weekend of Mother's Day. So that's kind of unfortunate for some people, but that was the only time we could get Daryl Anka. So it's going to be me and Daryl Anka and Rob Gothier. Have you had Daryl on your program?
We're going to have him on soon, so I'm excited for
Oh,
that.
good.
Yeah, that
Oh,
Daryl's
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, yeah, he's so good, and he's such a great teacher himself too, along with the Bashar channeling, of course. And we think we have Paul Selig for this
Hmm.
event too, who's also amazing. And we're trying to nail down Lee Carroll, Lee Harris, Wendy Kennedy, and it's just going to be it could turn out to be the biggest channeling event ever.
Wow, sounds amazing.
We get everybody, yeah,
I will be sure to share that with everybody once we have more details, so that
yeah.
people can access that. And so I'd love to get some feedback from you if you've noticed any, because you have an amazing website, danielscranton.com, where you are featuring your daily transmissions
Hmm.
from these different channels. And I'd like to get your feedback because, as a channel, when you're done, you're kind of evaluating what kind of message they're giving and how it felt. If you've noticed any changes in the message as you've gone along since we last spoke, has there been any changes, any emphasis, anything in particular you wanted to talk about?
Definitely. First of all, I want to say that the creators, some people may be new to the creators because I focused on the Arcturians for so long, but the creators are the OGs. They're the first ones I ever channeled, and that
Right.
was 15 years ago. I don't know the exact date when in the late 2010 I started channeling, but it's definitely been 15 years now since I started channeling, and they came through me then. And of course, it was way different than it is now because I've had 15 years to evolve as a channeler. And
Mhm.
now we're sitting at this time where the beings I channel, the beings Wendy Kennedy channels, Daryl Anka channels, so many other people are all saying, hey, ET contact for all of humanity really is just around the corner now. It's really coming fast and could be happening in less than 2 years, but definitely I would say within 2 years,
Wow.
we will have a major contact event that will lead to ships landing all over the world at some point, Pleiadian ETs making contact with us, and then hybrid children and all kinds of fun stuff will unfold from there. So that's been, and of course, when things like Three Eye Atlas happen, they have to comment. They
Hmm.
have to comment obviously on things that a lot of people are focusing on and thinking about, and it is a significant thing to have these objects coming from outside of our solar system
Hmm.
and behaving in these weird ways that gets everybody's attention and gets everybody thinking about, well, what if this was a spaceship? Are there ETs on it? Are there ETs behind it? So that sort of thing is in the zeitgeist now, and it's being talked about as well as, of course, the same old stuff of like, you're the creator of your reality and you have the ability to manifest the life that you want. And you also have to make all of this an inside job because, of course, you've seen it, I've seen it. There's a lot of messages out there about what's happening outside of us that's so important. And they always have to bring the emphasis back to what's going on inside of us as human beings because that's ultimately how we're creating our reality is by offering a particular vibration. And it's also what we have control over. We don't have control over what people are doing in Washington, D.C. and in the shadows and all those other places that people get really, really obsessed with, unfortunately, I think, because we need to be focused on ourselves, our families, our communities, what we can do as individuals to not only help ourselves to raise our own vibration, but then help other people as well.
I'd love to get your impression on Three Eye Atlas outside of the channeling, because it's interesting to watch the scientific community run full speed to say, oh no, it's nothing. Oh no, it's nothing. Before they've really even had a chance to evaluate, as it gets closer and closer, NASA's coming out immediately saying, oh no, oh no, oh no. I think that the rapidity of their response, their absolute saying it's nothing, kind of tells me that there's something. We know we can see a heartbeat. I've watched Avi Lieb be interviewed. I'd like to get your impressions, what you think it is.
Well, everything is a creation of ours. So this is also our creation. We are giving ourselves an opportunity, obviously, to look up at the sky and say, hey, there's other stuff out there that's kind of interesting, doesn't follow all the laws of physics that we think it will follow. It's kind of acting like a subatomic particle in that it behaves differently when it's being observed and all that fun stuff that like really gets us to start thinking about ourselves in relationship to the rest of the universe, the other beings in the galaxy. And I was actually just listening to a Bashar clip that I've actually heard before, but I like re-listening to stuff that he said because there's always so much information. And he
Hmm.
was talking about, how someday, I don't know how far in the future this will be, but there will be a time when we humans will be the ETs for other beings. We're going to go out into space
Hmm.
and we're going to be the first contact specialist then for a planet that he says we have left alone. He's like, we're not working with these people at all, these whatever the ETs are on this other planet, because that's going to be your job, and you're going to be the ones who go out there into outer space and make contact with other beings, like Star Trek. It's going to be, and he was mentioning Star Trek too. He's like, that is your future. That's what you're going to be doing. So I think that anything that gets us thinking along those lines, and also obviously everything in reality has meaning, has a purpose, and offers a vibration. And so Three Eye Atlas is all of those things for us. And the number three means it's the third one. Now, I forget what the second one was, but the first one has been around for a while. It starts with OM or something. It's like
Yeah,
Amunama or something.
right.
And so we've had our eyes on the skies for a while now, and of course that, along with all the soft disclosure that happens for us in the news media and Congress and all these different places where ex-military, ex-government people are coming out and saying, yeah, we've seen tons of videos. We know there's something strange out there. When the drones started coming in droves in New Jersey, New York area, everybody was wondering, are they ETs? So now it's
Hmm.
like a whole new world that we're in where this is a question we're asking. We're asking these types of questions. If you remember, there were those monoliths that would show up in these odd places in nature, just like in the movie 2001 and stuff like that went on years ago. So we're playing with the idea of it, which we have to do
Hmm.
in order to prepare ourselves for what is going to come, what is now inevitable.
Hmm.
And it's just a question now of exactly when and also why it happens. Will it be in response to something? I was living in Hawaii
Hmm.
when those missiles that there was a supposedly a fake um, message everybody got on their cell phones. Me
I
and my wife were
remember
asleep
I
at the
remember
time,
reading about that.
but
Yeah.
people were getting we were at the farmers market later that day, and people were talking about it, how these messages popped up about the Koreans, North Koreans obviously, shot a nuclear weapon at Hawaii. And then everybody, they all said, "Oh no, somebody made a mistake. They hit the wrong button, and that's why that went out." But we've been told numerous times that ETs are not going to let that happen. And the fact is, it was probably something that was intercepted or somehow disabled, disarmed, so that it didn't blow me and my family up. You know?
Yeah. See, I would be shocked if we had in the next 2 years. I mean, I'm a believer in the Prime Directive, like Star Trek style.
Yeah,
That I
but
believe
it's not interference.
yeah, we're not
It,
ready. We're not ready. When I look in the world, we're not ready for it. It would disrupt people's deep religious beliefs, and
yeah.
our media is not ready to handle it the way that people would respond to it. I think that we would be horrible hosts. We would be demanding that they, it would be a whole immigration debate. Can you imagine if they asked to stay? It would be horrible, right? So, I mean, I don't know. I really don't in
Well,
my
they look
heart.
like they're from Sweden, so I don't
Okay,
think
if
our
they look
president will
like they're
have a
from
problem
Sweden,
with it.
then and then we're not ready for, like, if they're going to offer us technology.
Yeah.
Clearly, that's the main idea behind the Prime Directive is that we have to evolve to a point where we can handle these new technologies. That's what we're going through. We're babies. We're
Well, remember
babies,
though,
right?
it all started in the 40s, which is when we detonated the whatever bomb. I don't know
Right.
if it A bomb or H bomb or whatever kind of bomb it was, but it was nuclear in some way, right?
Hmm.
In Japan, two of them, and we got once we hit that level of technology on our own, then coincidentally, that's when all the visitations really started in this era of the beings that are now called, people call them the Greys, but we know that they were really parallel Earth humans that mutated to look like Greys that were
Ah.
coming and starting the hybridization program back in the 40s. And then you could say, well, then these civilizations of Bashars and the Yael, then they must only be about 80 years old. But that's not true, because in a weird turn of events, these beings, once they were hybridized and began their journey as these hybrid beings, they were taken to another reality where time moves differently, and they've actually had like tens of thousands of years to
Okay.
evolve. So now the Bashar that we're meeting is from the future, even though the whole program only started like 80 years ago.
Makes
So
sense.
it's very interesting. That's also something that I never had really done the math on that until
Right.
recently, and found out that that is what happened.
I mean, I believe it
And
makes sense to me.
but
Um,
yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying, because it is a crazy world. It is a chaotic world. But also the truth is that as we go higher with our vibration, as we evolve and ascend more and more, we have to be made aware of all of the crap that's been going on and behind the scenes, beneath the surface. All that's rising up at this time, where everybody has a camera and there's cameras everywhere, and the internet and
mhm.
all that too, where anyone can have a YouTube channel. It used to be like, if you weren't Tom Brokaw, you wouldn't be able to
Yeah.
conduct an interview like this, but now you can. So, and it's great. So I think that more and more rises to the surface for us to look at and ask ourselves, like, once and for all, is this really what we want? Is this how we want to be? Is this who we are? And the thing is, I think even the contact experience will be soft, in that the first thing will be for them to let us know you're definitely not alone. That'll be
Right.
the first stage of it. You're not alone. You can't even deep fake this stuff. Like, this is real. Everybody will be showing the same video footage, no matter what country they're from,
Right.
of the enormous ships in the sky. So Um, and then there will be people going, oh, it's the government making it up with a hologram or something.
Of
But
course.
still, the vast majority of people will say, yeah, I think this is really happening. And then they will call into question their beliefs, which is a good thing, which is part of our
Yeah.
evolution. Like we need to question our beliefs in order to evolve. That's something everybody needs to do. I need to do it. You need to do it.
Mhm.
Everybody needs to do it. So people grew up in a fiercely religious household. They will also need to be asking themselves deeper questions like, well, I was with you guys on the dinosaurs never having existed because they're not in the Bible, but I don't know. I can't deny this. It's right in my
Right in
face.
my face. And there will still be 30% that will say it's all fake. It's all conspiracy run by the
I don't know
government.
if
It's
it'll be
fake.
30%.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll
Seems
be
like
lower than
33% is
that.
kind of always like the number that we can always but I'm fascinated with the nuclear question because when I always go back to the law of one and they say that the nuclear bomb going off can actually affect our soul and it can actually permanently eliminate the soul. So they're paranoid. They don't want anybody's permanent soul to be eliminated. So that's why the nuclear weapons are so important. As soon as they start to see those, they're coming down and they're stopping that. And so I find that fascinating.
Yeah.
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 And so is there a possibility that we have, I mean, there's two sides to the alien debate. There's service to self and it's not all a super happy universe. So what happens if the dark side shows up and the Sith show up at our house? I mean, what happens? Are we
One of the
ready
things
for that?
Well, one of the things I'd like to point out here is that from the time of course of the law of one and when that was channeled to now,
Hmm.
decades have passed.
True.
So even ETs that have been traditionally, say, maybe more service to self oriented, they have had time to evolve in that time. We have to give every other species out there the same benefit of the doubt that we can give humanity, which is like,
Right.
I think you and I both agree that humanity is ultimately good and we're moving in the direction of more good, and we've passed even a tipping point to where we can say we're more than 51% positive at this point
Right.
oriented. And I think that ETs reflect that to us as well. So if we've ever seen a reptilian doing a very reptilian thing, of course it also reflects something within ourselves, the reptilian brain, the fight or flight, and the
Right.
protecting our own at all costs kind of mentality that we also have. Obviously, we detonated those bombs on Japan, we meaning Americans,
Hmm.
um, because we were protecting our own. We were putting our interests above
Right.
everyone else's in the world. And so, we have that propensity within us as well, but we also learn from our mistakes just as they do. And I think one of the things you see too is like the beings who have been the bad guys kind of get tired of it after a while and say, just like a person, you could see a person on earth saying, I think everything is about me having billions of dollars and power and being the richest person. And then they get there and they get fame and fortune and all that. And then they realize it's not that great.
Hmm.
Like I have to hide in my hotel room because everybody will swarm me if I go outside. And sure, I stay in nicer places, but I never know if anybody is after just my money or really likes me. So it's that same kind of thing that we go through in our own process. I think that they've all gone through as well. And I just think that we have to understand too that a lot of things are in our imagination. They're in our heads. Like, for example, some of these ET encounters that people have had over the past 80 years, where they've been asleep at night, they're in their bed,
Hmm.
they wake up paralyzed, they can't move. There's a gray hovering over them with sharp metal instruments, and they're like, "What the hell is going on? This is scary. I'm being operated on against my will. All this stuff." They don't know a lot. Are missing a lot of information in that moment, which can lead to all kinds of conclusions
Hmm.
about who these beings are, what they want, The amount of fear that they're feeling is telling them something is wrong here. But in actuality, now that's exact same scenario looked at from a different point of view.
Hmm.
These are beings that are desperate to save their civilization from extinction. They have come often to a person who is of their same oversoul. So that ET
Exactly.
that is standing over you, trying to save its own species from going extinct, is you in another form, literally. And you did give your consent. You just gave it before you were born. You were paralyzed in that moment because you needed to be, otherwise you could get hurt if you woke up during the
Right.
process. So all these things are just information that person didn't have, that then led them down a path of saying the grays are horrible, the grays are this, the grays are that, they're evil, they're controlled by
Hmm.
AI, all these different things. And the other thing is, they weren't even really grays. They were really humans from a parallel Earth that just looked like grays. And it's also true that there's a myriad of different grays out there. There isn't just one group
Hmm.
of grays. There's all kinds of gray beings. So people lump them together and they get them confused with each other and all these things. And so there's a lot of that out there that I don't think we really have to worry about, the negatively oriented ETs, because I've heard from numerous sources that like there's all these quarantines of Earth too.
Hmm.
Like Earth is protected from the interference type of beings that would come in and would wreak havoc if they could, or do something like try to take over in some way. Like that's just not going to be allowed because the ETs too, to have the kind of technology that they have to have evolved their consciousness to a certain point as well.
Hmm.
And so the ones that have the ability to have that kind of technology to be in our skies and be all around in our solar system, they are, you know, I would say the vast, vast, vast majority of them are very well meaning, very high vibrational beings. And so to keep out the few bad apples is not that hard for them.
Right. I'd love to get your background in particular on the differences between the creators and the Arcturians,
Yeah.
what you experience experientially when you're when you're channeling them.
Well, I want to go back even further than that first, and tell you guys that don't know this already
Yeah.
that back in 2010, I was a huge fan of Abraham Hicks, right?
Hmm.
And was traveling the world, going on cruise after cruise, and flying all over the U.S. to see them. And I was this huge channeling aficionado, and Abraham never talks about aliens, never. And
Never.
so I had no interest in aliens whatsoever in early 2010. And then I had my own experience with them, with the ETs, in the middle of the night in March of
Hmm.
2010, which led me down a path of investigating all this stuff. And then, meanwhile, 8 months later, I start channeling. So I started channeling the creators. They didn't even tell me what to call them. They didn't say who they were, where they were from. They did not. They certainly have never presented themselves as ETs. They've always presented themselves as a non-physical collective in the highest dimension in this universe, which is very similar to what Abraham is, and
Hmm.
others too. I'm sure Cryon, I'm sure, falls into that category. And so I started channeling the creators in 2010 and started doing it for everybody, like all my friends, anyone who wanted me to channel for them, doing little workshops down in Southern California, driving down to San Diego County to do all these workshops in people's living rooms. But I started channeling the messages from the creators, the daily messages I put out in
Hmm.
2012. So 2012 was a big year for me. 2010 was a big year for me. So was 2012, and I started channeling these daily messages from the creators. I finally got the name the creators while I was doing an automatic writing exercise, And again, that's not really their name. They don't have a name. They, just like Abraham isn't their name. They needed a name so people could refer to them as something. So Esther kind of downloaded that one. I downloaded this name, the creators. And then, so that's 2012. 4 years later, now I've channeled a few other entities in between there: Ophelia the Fairy, the Hathors, Archangel Michael, Archangel Gabriel, the Founders, the Pleiadian High Council of Seven, and possibly even Quan Yin, I think, came in before Arcturians. So
Right.
it wasn't until 2016, which was the year I met my wife, my current wife. And so she and I met right around the same time. I started to bring in the Arcturians, and she actually channeled them too, which was interesting. She also channeled Quan Yin, and so we had this weird like coming together, and that's not why we met, but it was just one of those things where she was also channeling some of the same beings that I was, and I liked channeling the Arcturians so much. And what did feel different to me. And this also could have truly been because I had now been channeling for 6 years. Was it felt like the messages were more timely, like they were more of the moment kind of messages, talking about energies that are coming in and what's
Hmm.
happening now and how we're helping you in this moment through what we're bringing in galactically and what we're working with Pleiadians and Andromedans and stuff to bring you. So there was a lot more, it was a lot more galactic, but the feeling of it is not that different for me. It's not like
Okay.
a markedly feeling difference. When I channel a feminine group or a feminine being, like when I say group, I mean, like, I consider Archangel Gabriel to be a collective and not an individual, but Gabriel actually comes through me in a feminine voice. Ophelia, Quan Yin, those ones. There's a different feeling that I get from channeling that energy than
Hmm.
from channeling Arcturians, creators, Hathors, those types there. That's much more masculine feeling, and that's a difference. Physical beings feel a bit different than non-physical beings.
Hmm.
Like I have channeled some physical ETs, the ones that have called themselves the Quarnthians that I don't really channel that much, and that feels different when they do have a body. And Bashar has described this too as like when they're reaching Daryl, they're using technology that's built into the ship, the
Right.
shark, the
I
ship
remember
that's
him.
over Bell Rock, yeah, in Sedona. And so, like, when you channel a physical ET being like that, there's something else involved where it's not, when it's non-physical, they're kind of everywhere and nowhere. So it's a kind of different experience, I think, for the channeler in that way.
What I would love to know if you are aware of any restrictions that they have in their channeling. The Law of One, they claim that, and even the more recent channelings. And sometimes you can tell that when they're responding, they're following maybe a personal guideline. They won't be as specific or say certain things or answer certain questions. Do you think that the creators have, or the Arcturian, do you think they're following some rules when they're channeling?
Yes, and like you mentioned, kind of prime directive stuff, but also like, what is this person ready for? What is their higher self permitting me to give them?
Hmm.
Because all channeling is co-creation, just like everything is. And so if someone's sitting in front of you and you're channeling for them and they want to know the name of their soulmate, even though they may be destined to meet that person in 3 months, and so the name is already kind of out there and known, that person's higher self also knows they need to go through some more process before they can have that meeting. So the channeler may know it's John Smith and not know, but the information is out there. But the
Hmm.
higher self of the person that's being channeled for is blocking the information so
Right.
that the channeler is not going to be able to bring that through. They might be able to say, don't worry, it's coming soon, 3 months or less, maybe give them some other hints or feelers or something
Hmm.
to keep them like, you know, on that same path. But it's not like giving that person that bit of information is going to be helpful, even though that person wants that, desperately wants the name of the person, and probably would just start calling every John Smith in the phone book if they did
Right.
get it, which is, why it's not a good idea. But it's that kind of thing. Like
Hmm.
if a person is going through something with money and then they're going to the channel and they're saying, should I just inherited $50,000, should I put it all on Ethereum or should I put it in Bitcoin or gold or silver? And it's like, well, if the channeler can just give the answer, and say, you'll be rich if you put it all on Ethereum because it's about to go 20 times what it's worth right now, then how is that helping the person to work on themselves, which is what they ultimately need to do to
Hmm.
change their abundance vibration, to change what it is they need to change in themselves, the fears they have of not having enough, all that stuff. So it doesn't really help in a way to even have access to all that is, all the information. And I've heard several times when people have asked Bashar questions and he said, we're not allowed to tell you. Like he'll
Right.
just come right out and say
It's
it.
it's an interesting thing asking questions when I ask questions of the art, like how can I word this the right way so I can get the best answer, because I can feel the restriction. They can only say so much, and so I appreciate that they do that, and that makes sense. So what we're about to experience is Daniel's channeling process. It's likely most of you have seen it, but it's one of the most fascinating, most interesting channeling process. And trust me, it's cool. Just listen to it, and it gives me goosebumps. I can feel something happening. Before we go into that, I just one other final question. Do you ever ask them for help? Do you say, creators, please
Mhm.
help me heal,
Yeah.
guide me in this? And they want us to ask for help, right?
Yes. Asking for help is important, and the asking of the question reveals a lot to us, the question asker, as we're asking it.
Hmm.
But it is important to ask. It is important to verbalize things and to feel how you feel as you ask the question and all of those things. So, yeah, they do. And the answer to your question is yes, I've asked for help on numerous occasions. Even when I was lost on a hike once on the Big Island in Hawaii, I asked Archangel Michael, and I got left, keep going left, and I did get out of that field I was in of like tall grass where I just like could
Oh,
not
cool.
find my way back to the trail. So
How
yeah, I
symbolic.
get
You're stuck in a field. How symbolic is that, right?
the
All right.
field.
So who do you want to channel to? Do you want to channel the creators, or who do you want to
Yeah,
channel? All right.
I think it makes sense. We're talking. Well, we
All
were
right.
going to talk about their book. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
the book is it's about manifestation and more. Like you'll get a lot more out of it besides how to manifest by picking up this book if you do on Amazon. It's available in all four formats on Amazon. But it's way more than just like a manifestation guide, just so you know. But I had to come up with a catchy title, and I sorted the transmissions from the creators in a way to put each one in a chapter. That's also one of the 7 steps.
Well, I will ask some questions about manifesting and shifting
Okay.
just to see how they answer. But mostly, my favorite thing is to let them speak and give us their message. So,
Okay.
all right, go ahead. And then after I ask some questions, I'll have them ask questions, and
Okay.
there we go. All right.
Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. Ok. We are here for you. We are the Creators. We are a 12th dimensional collective of non-physical beings, and we are here to help. We are here because of your asking. We are here to assist you in living your lives and having the experiences of yourselves and others that you want to have. We are teachers primarily, but we are also creators, and we work with you, work with your energies and your desires to co-create new experiences for you. We are non-physical and you are physical, and therefore there is always a relationship between us and what we are and what you are temporarily. Where we are is more of the real reality, the truth of who we all are as source energy beings. And where you are is more of the dream reality, the illusion of reality, that which some of you call the Matrix. We are here to help you to illuminate which aspects of that dream you want to experience, and also helping you to become the versions of yourselves that you ultimately want to become through your willingness to allow more of that which is non-physical to flow to you and through you. And so you do always have your desires, the experiences you want to have of the physical and of yourselves. And those desires serve you very well because they get you to ask bigger questions about who you are and whether you deserve to live a life that you want to live. Those desires help you to reach deep down within yourselves for what is there, what has always been there, and what is available to you to utilize to make yourselves in harmony with that which you desire to experience. And therefore, it is a beautiful arrangement that we have. It's a beautiful setup that we all agreed to co-create in this way. It allows you to first experience some of what you are not, so that you can then come home to the truth of who and what you are. And again, your earthly experiences and earthly desires certainly do help you do just that, because you have to go beyond what you can think and what you can do, and you have to move into what you can feel, what you can vibrate, what you can imagine that goes beyond what you've experienced thus far. And therefore, you are co-creators with us, and you are giving yourselves an opportunity to be on the leading edge of creation by being there, by having the illusory experience that you are having. And what that means is, of course, none of what you are experiencing is permanent in any way. It will always change, and some things will go away and other things will pop up to take their place. Whereas in the non-physical, we don't have that same kind of experience. We have different experiential feelings, and certainly we get to imagine as well and dream things into reality as well. But it's a different experience when there isn't the hard, solid matter that you're working with in the physical realm. Things move much more slowly for all of you, and things do seem to be more permanent for you as an experience. Whereas you have to wait sometimes for something to manifest in your reality, we have a sort of instant manifestation of everything that we are focusing on being then our next experience. That is ultimately what you are moving towards, and you're just doing so at the snail's pace that you agreed to move at, because you ultimately, as a soul, want to have the experiences that you are having. And as you ask yourself questions like, why would my soul want to have this experience? You are likely to get an answer, and hopefully an answer that is satisfying to you, because if you can get that answer and be satisfied with it, then you can move on from that with a new way of approaching your life and the certain challenges that you have chosen to experience in your life. Very good. And now that we have said what we wanted to say, we are happy to take your questions.
Thank you so much, and it's an honor to speak to you. And wanted
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, it appears with my own experience, the environment that we are collectively in, that my thoughts are becoming things much faster. Could you please speak on this aspect of our current experience?
It isn't true for everyone. It is true for those of you who have uncovered these truths. And it is true for those of you who have attained a certain vibration and a certain level of alignment. It also matters what it is that you are wanting to manifest. So when you're wanting to manifest something that is for the greatest and highest good of all, then there's more support coming from the non-physical for that, versus just wanting to manifest a red Lamborghini or a lottery win or something like that, where there isn't some grander purpose for that for the collective. So when you're doing something that is for the greatest and highest good of all, you are automatically in a higher vibrational state, and there is more help to get you to that reality where that is the experience you're having.
It would appear that I am able to, and others that I work with are able to access different versions of themselves in what appears to be parallel realities. I would like for you to speak on this aspect of consciousness. Am I contacting and learning from parallel aspects of myself, or is this just my imagination?
Everyone does it all the time, whether they know it or not, because those parallel yous do exist, and they are having a slightly different experience from the one you are having. So if you think of one of those parallel yous as a future you, and you're asking for help, for advice from the future you, and you get some, then we recommend that you act upon it and you take it to be something that is real, because it is time for you to accept these truths as being true. And when you accept them as being true, you're more likely and more willing to reach out to these other yous. But certainly everything that they are experiencing, as well as everything that you are experiencing, is being fed back into the oversoul of which you are all a part. And the oversoul also is giving information, giving energy to every single one of you. So you absolutely are in a type of communication with the other parallel yous all the time.
Can you explain the concept of the oversoul?
The oversoul is a much larger being than the soul. And within the oversoul are contained a certain number of souls that are all part of that greater being. That greater being is like having a larger piece of the pie, a larger slice of source is contained within the oversoul, but all the individual souls that are part of that oversoul get to play off of one another with their various lifetimes and experiences in a thematic way, so that an oversoul can explore a particular theme or a grouping of particular themes through all of these various beings, all these various lifetimes, and all the parallels within those lifetimes as well, and do it in such a way where the oversoul then gets to experience an expansion of itself, a greater knowing of itself. So it is the larger you that is even larger than your soul. And of course, from there, you can go on and on and on and on. And there will always be a larger you to be moving towards, and that you will always be a part of.
Can you advise on how we collectively, this small group that I have with me, a couple hundred people in the reality revolution, can we come together collectively to change the reality of the world universally?
You're doing it right now. You're doing it by asking the question. You're doing it by gathering in this way. Anything that you decide to do with that intention absolutely does impact the collective consciousness of which you are a part. Now, do you ever really change the world? Yes and no, because everything always affects everything else, but really, by alignment, you go to a world where things all already are different, where you get the different version of reality than the one that you were previously experiencing. Now, this is happening all the time, but it's happening in such a way that you don't notice the difference from one world to the next unless you make a bigger, more quantum leap. And then you can say, wow, I certainly have noticed that suddenly there's a lot of peace treaties getting signed. And suddenly there's a lot more videos of people helping each other that I'm seeing online. And all of these types of things where you go, it really does seem like now I'm in a different reality. The vibration in the air seems higher, and it will always be, because you changed yourself, and by changing yourself, you aligned with the reality that gives you that reflection that you wanted. So when you gather in a group, you support each other in that. You have that common goal. You are egging each other on, so to speak, to be in that vibration, to be the light and the love that you want to see in the world. And there is power in numbers. There always has been and always will be. And of course, it's putting action behind the intent, which has more energy behind it. It has more of a feeling to it than just thinking it or saying it. To actually do something about it is having that impact that you desire to have. And it will have that impact on all the earths, because as we were saying, everything is connected.
As I work with people and my group, I notice that there is a lot of trauma that people have experienced that tends to create their realities. Do you have advice on how we can resolve these traumas individually and collectively?
Indeed. So it happened, and one of the first things a person can do when they're considering what has happened is to remember that they created it, and they created it for a reason. They actually thought, as a soul, not as a human being, but as a soul, this would be a good experience for me to have, to give myself the opportunity to experience what it's like to move from a feeling of abject powerlessness to empowerment. And so first I have to go in the wrong direction, the direction I really don't want to go into long term, in order to feel what that feels like, so that I can have the more visceral experience of moving from powerlessness to empowerment. And the person empowers themselves when they decide, I did co-create that with that other soul. I did have an agreement to have that experience with that other soul or souls before I came in, and I had a very good reason for doing so. Let me see if I can find what that reason is. One of them will always be giving you the opportunity to experience forgiveness. And before there's something to forgive, there has to be a reason why the person needs to forgive. So they get to have that experience because of the trauma that they went through. And then there's compassion, which they can have for their abuser, for the reason why they are in the condition that they are in emotionally in that moment. So if they can have compassion, that also allows them to then experience compassion in a new way. They're also more likely then to have compassion for everyone else who has had a similar experience or any trauma in their lives. So it builds compassion to have had the trauma. And then finally, they get to experience unconditional love, which is the love that you truly are, that is what it is under any and all conditions. To experience yourselves as that love is a big part of why all of this exists in the first place. So therefore, in order to have unconditional love, you first have to have a condition that is deemed unlovable. So you can again move from not being able to even consider loving under that condition to realizing, all right, now I've come to this awareness that I created it for a reason. This other soul really is my friend and my soul family member on the other side. I can forgive this person and come to this place of being unconditional love. I can let go of my fear, my anger, my hate, my resentment, all of it. I can let go of it all and rise up and experience myself as I truly am. And thank goodness that I was able to dip first, because if I wasn't, I wouldn't get to know what it really feels like to move into this space of that which I have always truly been.
Can you advise as the most effective way for me to create the reality of my dreams?
First of all, you have to be honest. You have to be honest with yourself about what it is you want, why you want it, what your beliefs are about it, what your current vibration is about it, whether there's any discord there. You have to get really honest with yourself about all that you want to create and why. And then when you recognize, okay, I do want this, I definitely want it, and I want it for good reasons, and at the same time, I don't believe I'm worthy of it. So then you know what it is you have to work on, what it is you have to release, the sandbags you have to cut off of the side of the hot air balloon to allow the hot air balloon to have its journey. Because if you're not having the journey to the experience of the reality that you want, it's always something that you're doing to hold yourself back. Because you have that particular desire for that experience for a reason, and the reason has a lot to do with who you really are as a soul, as a person who has decided to incarnate as that particular personality for that particular time period. And so it is important to make peace with all the desires that you have, all of the reasons why you believe you're not having the experience you want to have, so that you're able to chisel away at the things that are keeping you from being the real you, the whole you, the true you that you truly incarnated to be. And so it is a bit of a process, but it's also very good for people to recognize that what they have a desire for, they will experience at some point. Because if they can imagine it, then that reality where it is happening already exists. And they can either be on the way to that reality, or they can stifle that experience and squelch that experience from being their reality by not feeling worthy, by thinking other people have tried this in the past and they haven't been able to do it, so why me? All of the kinds of thoughts and beliefs that keep a person sort of nailed to the ground instead of allowing themselves to naturally lift up and be the person that they were created to be. That includes those desired experiences that they want to have.
If I become aware that I have a problem with my own self-worthiness or some other block that limits my ability to create my reality, what would you recommend I do to create that self-worthiness, to overcome those blocks?
Remember that most people are using very superficial ways of determining their own self-worth. And you may also be falling into that trap. You never have to determine your self-worth by how many degrees you have, how many things you've already accomplished, whether you think you're smart enough, all of those things, whether you think you're spiritual enough by your standards or by anyone else's. You don't have to define your worthiness by things that are temporary and by things that other people may use to judge you by, but instead you can say, well, God created me. If God created me, then I must be worthy because I exist. And I exist exactly as I am in this moment, which was also an idea of God's. This was source energy's idea for me to exist exactly as I am. And therefore, I must be worthy because I exist and I exist in this way. I'm not just worthy when I exist as a different version of this avatar, this personality, this pretend being that I'm being in this lifetime. I'm not only worthy when I get to some point in my career, I'm worthy right now because I exist. And when you can base your worthiness on that, then you will know that it's something real. It's something that always is true under every single moment in all of creation. Now, anything else that you discover that might be an impediment to getting what you want, living in the reality that you want to live in, you can always ask yourself, well, now I've discovered it, I realize that it's just a thought or it's just a belief. Why can't I just choose another one? Why do I feel like I have to choose this thought again or this belief to give myself over to it as though it's a truth, as though it's a truth with a capital T? Or is this thought, this perspective, this version of me just as viable, just as real? And why don't I just choose that one instead of the one that my parents chose and my grandparents chose and my cousins and aunts and uncles? So then you start to realize, oh, that's why I'm making this choice. It's out of habit. It's because everyone else around me has influenced me into making this particular choice. And I'm not even allowing myself to consider that there are other choices that I could be making. But now that you do get to that point where you say, oh yeah, there are other viable choices for me in regards to this, then you will find your way you find yourself getting there by choosing it.
Thank you so much for your answers. I have some additional people that want to ask some questions. So go ahead if anybody wants to ask the creators a question.
Roberta, please.
Roberta.
Go right ahead.
Yes, hello, creators. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you. A quick background. I am single, I'm 60, and I'm unemployed. I've not dated in almost 10 years, and I'm not at the point of financial freedom that I would like to be. So, creators, I'd like to say I am open and willing to receive what serves my highest good and the good of all. Please show me what I need to know now to align with a loving, supportive partnership meant for me, if it's meant for me, and with the easeful and fulfilling work or the freedom that allows me to retire with complete financial independence and the abundance that lets me care for my parents as they age, support my family, help animals in need, and contribute to a meaningful projects from the heart. Guide me toward the beautiful home where I can rescue animals and protect more, and toward the comfort and joy and freedom that allows me to uplift others while living peacefully and purposefully. Direct my next steps with clarity, grace, and trust. That is my question.
Yes, indeed. Very good. It's very good that you know some of the things that you already feel drawn to doing, like helping animals and having an animal sanctuary and helping your parents. It's good that you know that these represent more of who you really are. And then from that place, you can always say to yourself, all right, now that I know who I really am, as I move in the direction of those realities in all the ways that I can, where I am having those experiences that you just described, then you are being the version of yourself that you need to be in order to be of the vibration to allow the romantic partner in that's going to be the perfect cohort in the co-creating of that experience. So you may need to think about whether you believe there are any people out there who are interested in employing someone like you who has those particular desires to help that particular segment of the population, the animal population. And if you don't think that it's possible to get a job doing something like helping animals, then realize that it is something that you may be called to create. And creating it may mean that you get investors. You start talking about it. You start telling people about your idea. You start spreading the word. You get out there on social media and YouTube and you start telling people, this is my vision. This is what I want to do. And we need land and we need housing and we need investors. And if you help to co-create all of this, you can be a part of it. We can have a board of people who are making decisions about the animal sanctuary. You can start to get creative about what it is that you want to do and just do so because it represents who and what you really are. And if you move in that direction with that kind of clarity and with some confidence that there are other people out there who want what you want. There are other people who are just as compassionate towards animals as you are, then you know that some of those people have deeper pockets than you do and can help something like this get off the ground. So you also can do what you just did in asking us this particular question, which is, you said at the beginning, you're open to receive. And being in the divine feminine is a big part of the creation process. It's not all about the divine masculine of taking action and getting out there and networking and meeting other people. There's also that step of being willing to open up like the flower does, like the flower opens up its petals and then just receive like the flower does everything that you need. So putting yourself into an open and receptive state will be a very important part of this process for you as well, because there will be times when all that is left for you to do is just relax and let in what you have created.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anne Marie. Anne Marie Coles.
Hi.
Yes. Hello.
Greetings, creators. I'm very grateful for this opportunity to talk to you.
Very good.
How do we know when we have fully integrated the lessons from a dark night of the soul rather than just survived it? I've been through that experience a couple of times now, and I really don't want to go through it again. How do I know if I learned the lessons I needed to learn?
Well, first of all, do know that you are on that path right now because you're asking this question. You're asking the beautiful question that you know is needed. You know that you need to get everything out of it before you move beyond it, and you're willing to do that work. So you'll know for sure that you've moved beyond the dark night of the soul because you will have gotten to the point where you look at it in a different way. You look at it only through the lens of someone who recognizes how she created it, why she created it, and what it serves. And then you'll know, I'm looking at this differently now. I'm not looking at this through the eyes of a victim of someone else's ill intent. I'm looking at this as a co-creator of it and someone who is actually happy that it happened because of all that it taught me to know about myself, to look at my reality in a different way, in the way that it does serve me to look at my reality. And so as you do that, and you're very, very confident that you have shifted yourself as a result of it, then you know you don't need that lesson again. You don't need to go back and recreate something that you already experienced because you're still benefiting from having had that experience. You don't need to have the experience again. So keep telling yourself that, and with that willingness to get everything out of it that you want to get, and with that ability that you have to change the way that you're looking at it, you will move past it, and you don't have to worry that you're going to recreate something similar.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, we got Peggy.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, first, I just want to say thank you. I watched a lot of the videos, and I think there was one about asking for help, and I asked for help, and I know I got answers from you.
Very good.
Yes, yes. And I guess talking about more about the integration, and Brian, he's been doing a lot of videos on integrating our versions. And I guess for me, I always thought like my true authentic self was like this structured thing, but I'm realizing we're very fluid in
Yes.
our experience, and our identities can become very fluid, our reality can become fluid, time becomes fluid. I guess any advice on how to better integrate, better flow? Sometimes I feel too rigid and I want to be more fluid.
Very good. When you are being rigid and you catch yourself being rigid, you then just ask yourself, why? Why? How does it serve me to be rigid in this way? What do I think is the reason for this rigidity? Is it something about keeping me safe? Is it because I fear the unknown? Is it because I don't believe that there's anything else out there for me besides this? So I'll just stick with this. So there's always a reason why you're choosing rigidity, and as long as you're willing to ask yourself those types of questions and make the adjustments that you do want to make. And one of the ways you can do that, obviously, is by imagining what some other you is experiencing and how it's better
Right.
than what you're experiencing right now, and then saying, well, that does seem like it's something I would want to experience. I know that because I can imagine her in that reality, it does exist. So I'm open to being in that reality and taking whatever steps it takes for me to get to her and to get to that place.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you. Well, we all want to thank the creators for the amazing contribution and advice and energy. If there's anything else you want to share with us, any energies you want to share with us, anything else, we are open in this moment.
You are all creating 100% of your reality 100% of the time. Every last detail in your reality, every speck of dust, every strand of cat hair that's on Daniel's shirt right now is there by his own creation. You are all creating your reality all the time. It's just a question of determining for yourself what type of reality you want to create next, and then allowing yourself to drift into that reality, to feel yourself being pulled into it, to understand that going to it means going with the flow. It doesn't mean swimming upstream. It doesn't mean now you are set out to take on a large number of chores and assignments to get there. It means that there is a path to it, and it will be the path that you choose that will determine how you feel along the way. So make sure you're choosing a path that's filled with joy and ease and other people that you want to be around and other activities that you want to partake in, and you'll have a lovely time of creating the reality of your dreams. Very good. We are the creators, and we love you very much.
Thank you, thank you.
Hello.
I always ask, but does your shoulders get
No,
tired when you do?
no, they don't. I think a little bit. They change hands sometimes. They change arms going up. So I think at times there's just this understanding on their part, like, let's give this arm a rest, and I think it's like an antenna.
That's what it
I
feels
think
like,
that's
yeah.
yeah, and then I think this is like energy leaving the body through
Hmm.
the fingers or something.
And the movement in your mouth is you starting to embody them starting to come in and take a little bit of control over your mouth and tongue. And is that what's going on there
That's
when
how
you're
the toning. That's how the toning started from day one. It was they knew how to move my tongue and mouth and throat to make those tones. I never knew. I was actually in voice lessons with a very good teacher who now also knows how to overtone and does overtone singing and speaks light language. But at the time, I didn't know how, she didn't know how, and it just sort of happened during a channeling. And once it happened, you know, it was a little surprising to me that it could be done, and then that I all I had to do was like let it happen. But yeah, it's definitely a part of that process of opening up and opening portals. You know, there's portals that open up, and there's a resonance that's reached through the sounds that
Mhm.
not only am I reaching it, but everybody who's going to receive the channeling is also reaching that resonance.
Are we ever going to get an album with some of your
Oh, I hope so. I know Lee Harris records albums. I want to
right?
be that guy too, who has like his own studio and does fun stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So everybody needs to get this. This is your best book so far. You have several books that you
Oh,
can get.
thank you.
Create the reality of your dreams in 7 simple steps. The link will be in the description. And you also have a children's book. Could you tell us about
Yeah, the
that?
children's book is right here. It's called Fairy Sisters and the Unicorn. And the story behind this is a client of mine knew that I was channeling these bedtime stories on my YouTube channel.
Hmm.
And she actually hired me to do one for her daughters. Her daughters are named Lily and Savannah. So Lily and Savannah are the two fairy sisters in the book, and their mom's name is Angela because that was the name of the woman.
Right.
And it's a story about a fairy tale about sharing, and also there's like a bit in there about reality creation as well and how it works. So it's like a little educational for the kids. It's perfect for kids that are that have had some bedtime stories read to them
Hmm.
consistently, because there tend to be more words on a page. I know my daughter's attention span probably wouldn't have been high enough for like this many words on a
Right.
page a few years ago. But yeah, and there's the artist is also a channeler and put some codes into some of the pages. Like there's little codes you might not be able to see, with the camera on the bark of the tree there.
Right.
So it's really, there's a lot of detail in the artistry too that's really beautiful, and it just is just perfect creation that I'm just so happy about.
Yeah, it sounds like a perfect Christmas present. If you got some kids out
Yeah,
there,
yeah, exactly.
what a perfect Christmas present. I definitely
Yeah.
put that on. I will put the link in the description as well. It's always an honor to speak with you. Thank you for sharing your time with us. Thank you,
Yeah,
thank you.
my
And
pleasure.
as always, welcome to the Reality Revolution. This is the beginning of the new earth. It's happening now, and I want to activate. When you're in a room with other people, especially the Reality Revolution, who are all committed to the same thing, the collective field amplifies everything. Your breakthrough supports their breakthrough. Their shift accelerates your shift. This is quantum entanglement.
Around me, but this time it was just this peaceful, calm energy, and it was almost like waves coming in and all the colors were melding together. And I felt it start coming out of my body, and it just ricocheted out.
And it's just like, nope, I'm going to sit here. I'm going to make sure I'm going to do this. And I did it. And now it's like,
I've seen myself. There's no separation between this and that realm. The different realm that we're about to create.
My love for reality creation and Brian Scott actually brought me here. I'm here for heart-brain coherence and to shift into my greatest timeline.
We traveled actually all the way from Nantucket Island as pretty much furthest east as you can go, 30 miles off the coast of Cape Cod. I'm from Nantucket Island, and my name is Aaron James, and I'm here to really hang out with the Reality Revolution community. I've been a part of this community online since 2017, and read Brian's books, and I'm here to get that full immersive, in-person, live experience. And I've been using his techniques to help me shift my mindset, help me create the realities that I want to create. But I'm looking for even bigger breakthroughs and even get past the limits that I've come up to in my own life currently.
I came out here because I've been under a lot of stress with my business and school, and I'm just looking for a refresh. I've been following Brian for literally years, like a decade, and just the things that I've learned from watching him on YouTube has really helped me. I just felt like this is what I needed to kind of get to the next level, and I just didn't want to sit at home and watch him on YouTube anymore. I wanted to be a part of the experience. So that's what brought me here, and it's just like everybody else. I'm looking to get a change and for that reality shift and that paradigm shift, and I'm so ready for that. So that's why I'm here today.
Let me walk you through what you're going to experience. On Friday, we start with activating your pineal gland, your gateway to higher consciousness. Then you meet your higher self and learn to quantum jump into your greatest timeline. And by the end of the day, you will do my most powerful meditation where you actually become your future self from that greatest timeline, and it is most effective in a live setting. And on Saturday, it's about integration. We're going to navigate who this new you actually is. We'll work with the Bliss Body Healing Meditation to clear anything blocking your transformation. And then you'll experience my Remembering Your Future meditation, where we access memories of timelines that already exist in the quantum field waiting for you. Saturday night, we do something we do in every event. We get together for a group karaoke and sing along and a community celebration, because joy and connection are just as essential to your transformation as the deep work. And on Sunday, we go even deeper. You're going to enter the flow of large sums of money from a place of pure abundance, consciousness, and understanding how wealth actually flows. You'll open to love at a level you may have never experienced. And then we will close with the most important piece, shifting into a higher density New Earth consciousness, permanently elevating your base frequency so this transformation actually sticks. Here's what makes this different. These are live activations and transmissions. You're experiencing direct consciousness shifts in real time together. The Reality Revolution.
Thank you, Brian.
You will step fully into that identity and embody it completely. We've secured 50 rooms at a discount. First come, first serve if you want to fully immerse yourself in this experience. You also get 10 bonuses, 2 exclusive guided meditations, 3 activations, 4 audio guides, and a free digital copy of my book, Activate Your Unlimited Power. This is your invitation to step into the life that's calling you forward. Let's do this together. I can't wait to meet you. Once again, it's www.brianscotlive.com/February-2026.
We return you now to your local announcers.